Hello, good morning, and welcome back. Now I am going to teach you Anatomy of Ear Part 2. In this part, we will study anatomy of middle ear and internal ear. So let's begin the lecture. The middle ear. So in this diagram, we can see different parts of middle ear. In this, we can see eardrum, though it is part of external ear. Lateral malleolar fold, upper malleolar ligament, incudal ligament, malleus, incus, middle ear, stapedius muscle, stapes, stapes foot plate and whole window, and Eustachian tube. These are part of middle ear. So first, middle ear cleft. The middle ear cleft includes tympanum, that is middle ear cavity proper, the Eustachian tube, and the mastoid ear cell system. The tympanic cavity is an air-filled irregular space contained within the temporal bone. So it is an air-filled irregular space जो कि temporal bone में present होती है. Middle ear lateral wall is formed by tympanic membrane and it extends beyond the limits of tympanic membrane and will be divided into following. Mesotympanum, epitympanum or attic, hypotympanum, protympanum. The mesotympanum lies opposite the pars tensa. Epitympanum or attic lies above the pars tensa. Hypotympanum, it lies below the level of pars tensa. Protympanum, the portion of middle ear around the tympanic orifice of the Eustachian tube, and is called protympanum. Middle ear is like a six-sided box with the roof, a floor, and medial, lateral, anterior, and posterior walls. First, roof. The roof of middle ear cavity is formed by the tegmen tympani. It separates the middle ear cavity from the dura of the middle cranial fossa. So it is formed by tegmen tympani. Second is floor. The floor is much narrow. This portion of the middle ear cavity lies in close relationship with the jugular bulb. The middle ear cavity is separated from the jugular bulb by a thin piece of bone. Then coming to medial wall. The medial wall separates the middle ear from the inner ear. The most prominent portion of the medial wall of the middle ear cavity is promontory. It is a rounded projection occupying most of the central portion of middle wall of the middle ear. Then oval window, that is also known as fenestra vestibuli. Behind and above the promontory is the oval window. This is oval shaped opening connecting the tympanic cavity with the vestibule. Foot plate of stapes is placed in this window, that is in the oval window of fenestra vestibuli. The size of oval window varies, but on an average it is 3.25 millimeter long and 1.75 millimeter wide. Then second is round window, also known as fenestra cochlear. The fenestra cochlea, also known as round window, lies just below and behind the oval window. The round window is covered by a membrane known as the round window membrane, named as secondary tympanic membrane. The diameter of round window membrane is between 1.8 to 2.3 millimeter. Oval and round windows are separated by the posterior extension of the promontory. Then coming to lateral wall. The lateral wall of middle ear is partly bony and partly membranous. The central portion of the lateral wall is formed by tympanic membrane, while above and below the tympanic membrane there is bone, forming the outer lateral walls of the epitympanum, that is attic and apotympanum respectively. The lateral wall of epitympanum, that is attic, also includes that part of the tympanic membrane line above the anterior and posterior malleolar folds. This portion of eardrum is also known as pars flaccida. Then coming to anterior wall. The anterior wall can be divided into two portions, the upper portion, the lower portion. It has thin plate of bone which separates the middle ear cavity from internal carotid artery as it enters the skull. Then tunnels of anterior canal. Two tunnels are present in anterior canal. One below the other. The upper tunnel transmits the tensor tympanic muscle. The lower tunnel transmits the bony portion of the Eustachian tube. And posterior wall, in its upper part, it has an important opening known as adytus. This adytus helps the middle ear communicate with the mastoid ear cell system. Adytus is a large irregular opening connecting the mastoid antrum to the middle ear cavity. So it is an opening which connects middle ear cavity को mastoid antrum से connect करती है. Below the adytus is a small depression known as fossa incudis. Fossa incudis houses the short process of incus. Below the fossa inclusus lies the pyramid. Pyramid. It is a small conical projection which is hollow and its apex pointing anteriorly. It contains the stapedius muscle, in mastoid antrum. The mastoid antrum, also known as tympanic antrum or valsalvas antrum, is an air space in the petrous portion of the temporal bone, communicating posteriorly with the mastoid cells and anteriorly with the epitympanic recess of the middle ear. Why the adductus to mastoid antrum? That's the entrance to the mastoid antrum. Then adductus to antrum, as I have always explained, the adductus to mastoid antrum, that is entrance or aperture to the mastoid antrum, is a large irregular aperture that leads backward from the epitympanic recess into the mastoid antrum. It lies above the pyramid. Then mastoid ear cells. Their middle ear cavity is lined with mucous membrane and is filled with air. It communicates anteriorly with the nasal part of the pharynx through the auditory tube. And posteriorly, it communicates with the mastoid ear cells via the mastoid antrum. The mastoid ear cells are small air-filled cavities in the mastoid process. The mastoid cells. The mastoid cells exhibit great variety in their size and number as explained below. They may be well pneumatized, diploidic, or sclerotic. Then coming to middle ear ossicles. As we know, there are three in number: malleus, incus, and stapes. Malleus, incus, and stapes. First is malleus, also referred to as hammer. It has head, neck, handle or manubrium, and lateral and anterior processes. Manubrium is embedded in the fibrous layer of the tympanic membrane. That is middle layer of the tympanic membrane. Then coming to incus, also known as anvil. This bone is shaped like an anvil. It articulates with the malleus and has a body and two processes. Then stapes is also known as strip. It is smallest bone of body and is about 3 millimeter in size. The stapes consists of head, neck, two crura, and a base that is foot plate. The foot plate is placed in the oval window. Then intertympanic muscles. Two intertympanic muscles are present. First is stapedius muscle. Second is tensor tympanic muscle. Stapedius muscle. The stapedius muscle, the smallest skeletal muscle in the body, connects to the stapes and is controlled by the facial nerve. Then tensor tympanic muscle. It connects to the base of the malleus and is under the control of trigeminal nerve. Then tympanic plexus. It is found over the promontory, that is in the medial wall of the middle ear. It is formed by the tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve, cortico-tympanic nerves, which supply the sympathetic component. The tympanic plexus provide the following branches. Branches to the mucous membrane lining the tympanic cavity, Eustachian tube, mastoid, antrum, and sear cells. Second, a branch joining the greater superficial petrosal nerve. Third, the less superficial petrosal nerve, which contain all the parasympathetic fibers of the ninth nerve. Then cauda tympanic nerve. It is branch of facial nerve. It enters the middle ear cavity through the posterior canaliculus. It runs across the medial surface of the tympanic membrane between the handle of malleus and long processus incus. Then middle ear mucosa. The mucosal lining of the middle ear cavity varies according to the location. The attic or the epitympanum is lined by the pavement epithelium, while the middle ear proper is lined by cuboidal epithelium and epitympanum is lined by ciliated columnar epithelium. Then blood supply of the middle ear. There are four main tympanic arteries that bring blood to the middle ear. They are anterior, posterior, superior, and inferior. The anterior artery comes from the maxillary artery. Posterior artery comes from the stylomastoid artery. Superior artery comes from the middle meningeal artery. And the inferior artery comes from the ascending pharyngeal artery. So these are four main branches which bring blood to the middle ear. Then venous drainage. Veins from the middle ear cleft drain into pterygoid venous plexus, superior petrosal sinus, sigmoid sinus. Then lymphatic drainage of ear. Lymphatic drains from the middle ear to the parotid, retropharyngeal, superficial cervical, deep cervical, and mastoid lymph nodes. Eustachian tube lymphatics drain into retropharyngeal group of lymph nodes. Internal ear does not have any lymphatics. Then coming to internal ear, the inner ear is the innermost part of the ear. It consists of the bony labyrinth, a hollow cavity in the temporal bone of the skull, with a system of passages comprising two main functional parts. Figure of internal ear. So here cochlea, semicircular canal, and arm vestibule can be seen. So semicircular canal and semicircular ducts. Vestibule has two parts, atrium seculae, cochlea, and within cochlea, the cochlear ducts can be seen in this diagram. First is bony labyrinth. The bony labyrinth or osseous labyrinth is the rear outer wall of the inner ear. It consists of three parts: the vestibular, semicircular canals, and cochlea. These are cavities hollowed out of the substance of bone and lined by periosteum. They contain a clear fluid, the perilymph, in which the membranous labyrinth is situated. Then coming to vestibule, the vestibule is the central part of osseous labyrinth and is situated medial to the tympanic cavity, behind the cochlea, and in front of the semicircular canal. Oval window lies in the lateral wall of vestibule. Middle wall of vestibule lodges two recesses: spherical recess, which lodges equally, and elliptical recess, it lodges the utricle. Below the elliptical recess is the opening of aqueduct of vestibule, through which passes the endolymphatic duct. 5 openings of semicircular canal are present in the posterior part of the vestibule. Then semicircular canals, the 3 semicircular canals of the bony lemma are designed, designated according to their position: superior, horizontal, and posterior. Each canal has an expanded end known as ampulla, which opens to the vestibule, and a non-ampullated end. The 3 canals open into the vestibule through 5 openings. Then next part is cochlea. It is the auditory portion of the inner ear. It has spiral-shaped cavity in the bony labyrinth, making 2.5 turns around its axis, the modulus. A core component of the cochlea is organ of Corti, which is sensory organ of hearing. These 3 scalae or chambers, scala vestibuli, scala tympani, and scala media. The scala vestibuli contains perilymph. The scala tympani also contains perilymph. The scala media contains endolymph. The location where the scala tympani and the scala vestibuli merge, the helicotrema, is at the apex of the cochlea. Scala vestibuli is enclosed by the foot plate of the stapes, which separate it from the air-filled middle ear. The scala tympani is closed by secondary tympanic membrane. Aqueduct of cochlea connect the scala tympani with subarachnoid space. Then coming to membranous labyrinth, it consists of cochlear duct, utricle, sequelae, 3 semicircular duct, endolymphatic duct, and sac. The cochlear duct or scala media is an endolymph cavity inside the cochlea, located in between the scala tympani and the scala vestibuli, separated by basilar membrane and acinous membrane, the vestibular membrane respectively. Scala media houses the organ of Corti. Then next part is seculae. The seculae, the smaller part of the two vestibular sacs is globular in form and lies anterior to the utricle, opposite the stapes footplate in bony vestibule. The anterior part of the seculae exhibits an oval thickening. The macula ostica seculae or macula, to which are distributed the secular filaments of the vestibular branch of the vestibulocochlear nerve, the eighth cranial nerve. Within the macula are hair cells, each having a hair bundle on the apical aspect. The hair bundle is composed of single pinocilium and many, hardly 70 stereocilia. The macula respond to linear acceleration and deceleration. Then utricle. The utricle is oblong and irregular and is sloped upward anteriorly at an angle of 30 degrees. It lies in the posterior part of bony vestibule and receives the 5 openings of the 3 semicircular ducts. The utricle is larger than seculae and lie superior to the seculae. The utricle is connected with seculae through uterosecular duct. Its sensory epithelium, known as macula, is concerned with linear air acceleration and deceleration. So both seculae and utricle are associated with linear acceleration and deceleration. Then macula of utricle, the portion of the utricle which is lodged in the recess forms a sort of pouch or cul-de-sac, the floor and anterior wall of which are thickened and form the macula of utricle or utricle macula, which receive the utricle filaments of the vestibulocochlear nerve. The macula of utricle allows a person to perceive changes in longitudinal acceleration as well as effects of gravity. So, macula of utricle is responsible for longitudinal acceleration as well as effects of gravity. Then figure of internal ear. Here we can see semicircular canals, vestibule, oval window, ampulla, cochlea, cochlear nerve, vestibular nerve. Superior, posterior, and inferior semicircular canals can be visualized through this diagram. Then semicircular duct. Each of the 3 bony canals and their ampullae encloses a membranous semicircular duct of much smaller diameter that has its own ampulla. The membranous ducts and ampullae follows the same pattern as the canals and ampullae of the bony labyrinth, with their opening into the utricle and with common crus for the superior and posterior ducts. Then endolymphatic sac. From the posterior wall of the seculae, a canal, the endolymphatic duct, is given off. This duct is joined by ductus utriculosecularis and then passes along the vestibular aqueduct and ends in the blind pouch, the endolymphatic sac, on the posterior surface of the petrous portion of the temporal bone, where it is in contact with the dura mater. Endolymphatic duct and endolymphatics have to perform absorptive and secretory as well as phagocytic and immunodefensive functions. Then perilymph. Perilymph is an extracellular fluid located within the cochlea in two of its three compartments, the scala tympani and scala vestibuli. The ionic composition of perilymph is comparable to that of plasma and cerebrospinal fluid. The major cation in perilymph is sodium. Then endolymph. Endolymph is a fluid contained in the membranous labyrinth of the inner ear. The main cation of this unique extracellular fluid is potassium, which is secreted from stria vascularis. The high potassium content of endolymph means that potassium, not sodium, is carried as a depolarizing electric current in the ear cells. This is known as mechanoelectric transduction, that is MET current. Then blood supply of labyrinth. Firstly, internal auditory, that is labyrinthine artery. Labyrinth is supplied by internal auditory artery, which is a branch of anterior inferior cerebellar artery that arises from the basilar artery. Then venous drainage of labyrinth. Venous drainage is through internal auditory vein, vein of cochlear aqueduct, and vestibular aqueduct. These veins drain into the inferior petrosal and sigmoid sinus. So thank you. Thank you very much for listening to the lecture. So it is an important lecture as per your syllabus. So study it carefully, remember it, because at least one question will come from the sense organs. And most probably from ENT part, either anatomy of ear or anatomy of nose are included in the syllabus for examination purpose of you. So good day, study properly. Thank you. Thanks a lot for listening to the lecture. Thanks a lot. Thank you.